The email from Green Tech sat unopened in my inbox, its subject line mocking me like the echo of my father's voice, seeking expert design consultation. My cursor hovered over it as memories flooded back, sharp and bitter as coffee grounds. My name is Sarah, and I've spent the last decade proving my father wrong. The irony of his company now desperately seeking a designer's help wasn't lost on me. I took another sip of my morning coffee, staring at my tablet where my latest commission, a massive mural for the city's new performing arts center, was taking shape. "You'll never make a living drawing pictures." His words from that night still rang in my ears. I was 17, proudly showing him my acceptance letter to art school. The dining room had fallen silent, my mother's fork frozen halfway to her mouth. "It's a full scholarship, Dad," I'd said, my voice smaller than I'd wanted it to be. He'd barely looked up from his steak. "A scholarship to waste 4 years? You'll end up working retail, Sarah. Is that what you want?" "Charles," my mother had whispered, but he'd continued as if she hadn't spoken. "No daughter of mine is going to throw away her future on doodles. You're going to business school, and that's final." My phone buzzed, jolting me back to the present. It was Naomi. "Have you seen it?" she asked without preamble. "The email, yeah." "Well, are you going to respond?" I switched to speaker and set the phone down, picking up my stylus again. "I haven't decided. Girl, your father's company is practically begging for help with their rebranding. This is karma served on a silver platter. They don't know it's me," I said, adding shading to my digital sketch. "The request came through my agent. Even better. Oh my God, please tell me you're at least considering it." I was, despite myself. My studio wall displayed the magazine covers featuring my work, the awards, the headlines, Rising Star in Digital Arts. Green's designs revolutionize corporate branding. Dad probably hadn't seen any of them. He'd stopped keeping track of my life when I'd walked out that night, scholarship letter clutched in my trembling hands. "What if I did?" I said slowly, but not as myself, not yet. Naomi's laugh crackled through the speaker. "Now you're talking. What's the plan?" I opened the email, my fingers steady on the keyboard. First, we see just how desperate they are. Then, well, karma's a funny thing, isn't it? My response was professional, detached. Just another designer considering a potential client. But my heart raced as I hit send, knowing I'd just set something in motion that couldn't be undone. 3 days after sending my response, I sat in Lillian's gallery, watching her arrange my latest pieces for the upcoming show. The morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the metallic accents in my work. "These are extraordinary, Sarah," Lillian said, stepping back to assess the placement. "The way you've captured corporate aesthetics while maintaining soul, it's exactly why you're in such high demand." My phone buzzed. Another email from Wyatt at GreenTech, marked urgent. "Speaking of demand," I muttered, showing her the screen. Lillian's eyebrows shot up. "GreenTech? Isn't that?" "Yep, dear old Dad's company." "Have you told Naomi about this yet?" As if summoned, Naomi burst through the gallery doors, coffee carrier in hand. "Told me what?" "Green Tech's getting desperate," I said, accepting the latte she offered. "They've emailed 3 times now." "Show her the brief they sent," Lillian urged. I pulled up the document on my tablet. Naomi leaned in, her eyes widening as she scrolled. "Holy shit," she whispered. "They're hemorrhaging clients. Look at these numbers. Their market value has dropped 30% in 3 months." "Karma's a patient beast," Lillian remarked, adjusting the lighting above one of my pieces. "The best part?" I said, taking the tablet back. "They specifically referenced my work as inspiration. We're looking for something in the style of Sarah Green's recent campaigns. They don't even realize they're talking to me." Naomi grabbed my arm. Please tell me you're going to mess with them a little. I've agreed to a preliminary meeting, I admitted, but they're getting Sarah Gray, freelance designer, blonde wig, business suit, the works. You're going to give yourself away the moment you start talking about design theory, Lillian warned. No, she won't, Naomi interjected. Remember that presentation you did for the Miller account? You were practically a different person. My phone buzzed again. Wyatt had replied to my acceptance email, suggesting tomorrow morning for the meeting. That's soon, I said, my finger hovering over the reply button. Good, Lillian said firmly. Don't give yourself time to overthink it. Besides, Naomi added, you've earned this moment. How many times did your father say you'd never succeed in this industry? I thought about the portfolio I'd prepared, filled with work that had won international awards, work that had helped other companies thrive, work that proved every doubt, every dismissive comment, every condescending lecture wrong. Tomorrow it is, I said, typing my response. Time to show Green Tech exactly what drawing pictures can do for a company's future. Just remember, Lillian called as I headed for the door. Revenge is best served with style. I smiled, already planning my disguise. Don't worry, style is something I never leave home without. The Green Tech lobby hadn't changed in 13 years. Same stark modernism, same cold marble floors. Only now, instead of shrinking under its imposing atmosphere, I strode through it confidently in 4-inch heels, my blonde wig perfectly styled, portfolio clutched under my arm. Wyatt met me at reception. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe early 30s, with kind eyes that contrasted sharply with his crisp suit. Sarah Gray? He extended his hand. Thank you for coming on such short notice. I shook it firmly. The brief was intriguing. Follow me to the conference room. I've prepared some materials that show the scope of what we're facing. As we walked, familiar faces passed by. None recognized me. Amazing what a wig and confidence could do. Through the glass walls, I caught glimpses of frantic meetings, worried expressions, people gesturing at downward trending graphs. The conference room door opened and my heart stopped. There he was, my father, looking older than I remembered, barking into his phone. No, we can't afford another week of negative press, he was saying. Just hold them off until... He noticed us and quickly ended the call. Wyatt, is this the designer? Yes, sir, Sarah Gray. Dad barely glanced at me before turning back to Wyatt. Make it quick. We have the shareholders meeting at 11. He stormed out, leaving a thick tension in his wake. Sorry about that, Wyatt said, spreading documents across the table. We're all a bit on edge lately. I settled into a chair, crossing my legs carefully. Tell me what's really going on here. Wyatt hesitated, then sighed. We're losing our younger demographic. Our image is dated, stagnant. We need something revolutionary. Like Sarah Green's work? I couldn't resist. Exactly. His eyes lit up. Have you seen her latest campaign for Metro Digital? That's exactly the kind of energy we need. I opened my portfolio. I might have something along those lines. For the next hour, I walked him through concepts that I knew would resonate, designs that spoke to innovation while honoring tradition. With each slide, his enthusiasm grew. This is incredible, he said finally. The way you've balanced modern elements with classical structure. It's perfect. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the glass, I saw my father in another heated discussion. His face was red, his gestures sharp. Another client pulling out? I asked quietly. Wyatt nodded. Third this week. We need this rebrand to work, Ms. Gray. Will you help us? I watched my father through the glass, remembering every dismissive word, every crushed dream. Now here he was, his company desperately needing exactly what he'd once mocked. I'll need to think about it, I said, closing my portfolio. The scope seems personal. Wyatt looked confused, but nodded. Of course. Please let us know soon. We're running out of time. Don't worry, I said, standing. I have a feeling Karma's timeline is right on schedule. I returned to Green Tech 2 days later for a follow-up meeting, this time arriving early to observe. Hiding behind my laptop in the building's cafe, I watched the chaos unfold. Employees rushed through the lobby, their faces tight with stress. My phone lit up with Naomi's text, "You're crazy for going back." Before I could reply, raised voices caught my attention. Through the cafe's glass wall, I saw my father and Wyatt in what looked like a heated discussion. "We need her," Wyatt was saying, waving a tablet. "Have you seen these mock-ups?" "The price is ridiculous," Dad snapped. "We can find someone else." "There is no one else, not with this talent level, not in our time frame." I slipped closer, pretending to browse the pastry display. "Fine," Dad growled. "Set up another meeting, but get her to lower her quote." They parted ways, and I quickly ducked into the restroom to check my disguise. The blonde wig was secure, my makeup perfect. I straightened my blazer and headed to the conference room. Wyatt was already there, looking flustered. "Ms. Gray, thank you for coming back." "Of course." I set up my laptop, though I sensed some hesitation about my proposal. "No, not at all. It's just—" He ran a hand through his hair. "Budget concerns." I pulled up my presentation. "Let me show you something." But before I could start, Wyatt's phone buzzed. His face went pale as he read the message. "What is it?" I asked. "Another major client just pulled out. This is bad, really bad." He started typing frantically on his laptop, then suddenly froze. "Wait a minute." I knew before he said it. Saw the recognition dawn in his eyes as he stared at his screen. Sarah Green. She's Charles's daughter. My heart pounded, but I kept my expression neutral. "Oh? I'm looking at her website right now. The resemblance—" He looked up at me sharply. "You're not Sarah Gray at all, are you?" The conference room door opened. Dad walked in, already talking. "Wyatt, about that budget?" He stopped dead when he saw my face. I slowly reached up and removed the wig, letting my dark hair fall free. "Hello, Dad." The silence was deafening. Dad's face went through a kaleidoscope of emotions: shock, anger, confusion. "Sarah?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Surprise," I said coolly. "Looks like those worthless doodles turned out to be pretty valuable after all." Wyatt looked between us, understanding dawning on his face. "Sir, you never told me your daughter was—" "Was what?" I interrupted, standing. "Successful, in demand, everything you said I'd never be?" Dad took a step forward. "Sarah, Save it," I said, gathering my things. "I believe this meeting is over." I walked out head high, leaving them both staring after me. My phone buzzed again. Naomi. "How'd it go?" I smiled, stepping into the elevator. "Oh, it went exactly as planned, and we're just getting started." The calls started the next morning. First Wyatt, then the board members, and finally, inevitably, my father. I let them all go to voicemail while I worked in my studio, music drowning out the persistent buzzing of my phone. Naomi brought lunch and settled onto my workspace couch. "You can't ignore them forever." "Watch me," I said, not looking up from my tablet. "Your father's been sitting in his car outside the gallery for an hour," Lillian announced, walking in. "Should I call security?" I set down my stylus. "He's what?" "Being dramatic," Naomi said, peering out the window. "Oh, wait, he's getting out. Headed this way." My stomach clenched. The studio door opened and there he was, looking smaller somehow, his tie loosened, dark circles under his eyes. "Sarah," he said, his voice rough. "Please." "Please what, Dad? Please help save your company? please forget the last 13 years? He took a step forward. I was wrong. Wow, I laughed bitterly. Did that hurt to say? I'll leave you two, Lillian said quietly, pulling Naomi toward the door. No, I said sharply. They stay. Dad looked at my friends, then back to me. The board is meeting in an hour. We're facing a complete collapse unless we can turn this around. Your work, it's exactly what we need. My doodles, you mean? He flinched. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. But this isn't just about me. There are hundreds of employees who could lose everything. That's low, Dad? Using innocent people to manipulate me? It's the truth. He pulled out his phone, showed me the numbers. We're dying, Sarah, and you're the only one who can save us. I looked at the screen, at the plummeting graphs. You know my rates. Double them, he said immediately. Triple them, whatever you want. Naomi made a choking sound from the corner. This isn't about money, I said. This is about respect, recognition, everything you never gave me. I know. He sat heavily in my client chair. I was proud and stubborn and wrong. Seeing your work now, you've become everything I said you couldn't be, more even. I turned to my wall of awards, of magazine covers. Did you ever look me up? Ever check to see if I had succeeded? No, he admitted. I was afraid to. Afraid of what? Of being wrong, of seeing exactly what I'm seeing now. Proof that I failed you as a father. The silence stretched between us, heavy with years of unspoken words. I'll think about it, I said finally. But if I do this, we do it my way, completely my way. He stood, straightening his tie. Anything you want. I'll let you know my decision tomorrow. After he left, Naomi whistled low. Well, that was intense. Yeah, I said, already forming a plan. But we're not done yet. Call Lillian. I have an idea. You're either brilliant or insane, Lillian said, reviewing my proposal in her office. Possibly both. I paced the room, energy coursing through me. Can you make it happen? The timeline is tight. A private showing? For select corporate clients and media? Sure. She tapped her pen against her desk. But are you sure this is how you want to play it? Trust me, I said, pulling up my tablet. Look at these pieces I've been working on. Her eyes widened as I scrolled through the designs. These are exactly what Green Tech needs, I finished. But they're not getting them directly from me. Naomi burst in, waving her phone. It's done. The press releases go out tomorrow morning. Rising Star Artist Showcases Revolutionary Corporate Design Exhibition. Perfect, I said. Did you send the special invitation? Hand-delivered to Green Tech's board, she grinned. Wyatt nearly fell over himself promising they'd attend. And my father? Listed as guest of honor, though he doesn't know it yet. Lillian started making calls, setting everything in motion. For the next week, we worked around the clock. I created pieces that spoke directly to Green Tech's needs without being obvious, designs that merged tradition with innovation, stability with progress. The night before the showing, I stood in the empty gallery, surrounded by my work. Each piece told a story, led to the next, building to a complete rebranding vision. My phone buzzed. Dad's message was brief. We'll be there tomorrow. Thank you for the invitation. He has no idea, does he? Wyatt's voice made me jump. He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets. How did you figure it out? He smiled. I'm not as corporate as I look. This is brilliant, by the way. Letting them see the solution without knowing it's yours. You won't tell him? And miss the look on his face when he realizes? Not a chance. He walked around studying the pieces. These would save us, you know. They're exactly what we need. I know, I said quietly. The board will go crazy for them. They'll want to know the artist immediately. I touched one of the canvases. That's the plan. You're not doing this for revenge anymore, are you? No, I admitted. I'm doing it because I can, because I'm good at what I do, and they need what I create. The fact that it proves him wrong is just a bonus. Wyatt nodded. See you tomorrow then. This should be interesting. After he left, I made one final adjustment to the lighting. Everything had to be perfect. Tomorrow, my father would walk into this gallery expecting to see his daughter's submission for Green Tech's salvation. Instead, he'd find something much more valuable: the truth about art, business, and the daughter he never really knew. The gallery hummed with excited conversation as Green Tech's entire board, along with selected media, moved through the exhibition. I stayed in the background, watching my father's face as he studied each piece. This is extraordinary, he kept saying to anyone who would listen. The way it captures our company's essence while pushing us forward. This is exactly what we need. Lillian appeared at my side. Ready? I nodded, my heart pounding. She clinked her glass for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. As promised, the artist is here to discuss their vision for corporate rebranding in the modern age. Dad straightened his tie, clearly expecting to see me walk up. Instead, Lillian gestured to the main wall where a video began playing. On the screen, my face appeared, but not as the Sarah Gray they'd met at Green Tech. Hello, I'm Sarah Green, my recorded self said. What you're seeing tonight is more than art. It's a bridge between tradition and innovation. The room went silent. I watched my father's face drain of color as he realized what was happening. Each piece in this collection, the video continued, represents an element of corporate evolution, the same evolution that companies like Green Tech desperately need to survive. Wyatt, standing near my father, couldn't hide his smile. The artist has already been commissioned by several major corporations, Lillian announced. Her waiting list is quite extensive. 6 months minimum, I added, finally stepping forward. The room turned to face me, though I might make an exception for the right project. Dad took a step toward me, then stopped. His face showed a mix of emotions I'd never seen before: pride, regret, understanding. You did all this? He asked softly. Every piece, I gestured around the room, the same way I've done campaigns for dozens of other companies, the same way I could do for Green Tech if they're interested. One of the board members rushed forward. Interested? This is exactly what we've been looking for. Charles, why didn't you tell us your daughter was the Sarah Green? Because he didn't know, I said, meeting my father's eyes. He never bothered to find out. The silence that followed was deafening. Dad looked around the room, at the admiring faces, at the pieces that could save his company, at the daughter he'd dismissed for so long. I was wrong, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. About everything. Sarah, these aren't just good. They're brilliant. You're brilliant. I felt tears threatening, but held them back. Does that mean Green Tech would like to discuss terms? He shook his head, surprising me. No, first, I'd like my daughter to tell me about her journey, about how she became the artist I was too blind to see. Around us, people pretended not to listen, but I didn't care. This moment wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about recognition, finally freely given. Well, I said, it started with some doodles. The morning sun streamed through my studio windows as I put the finishing touches on Green Tech's new logo. My phone buzzed, a message from Wyatt with the latest numbers. Stocks up 40% since the rebrand announcement. Board's thrilled. Your father's actually smiling. I set down my stylus and stretched. Naomi lounged on the couch, scrolling through news articles. Listen to this, she said. Green Tech's revolutionary rebranding, led by acclaimed artist Sarah Green, marks a turning point in corporate design. They're calling you a genius. They're calling me expensive, I corrected. showing her the contract on my desk. Worth every penny, Dad said from the doorway. He held 2 coffee cups, offering one to me. Though I had to fight the board on your fee. Did you tell them family rates aren't a thing? He smiled, settling into a chair. Actually, I told them you were undercharging. Naomi's eyebrows shot up. She grabbed her bag. And that's my cue to get more coffee. After she left, Dad studied the designs on my screens. You know, I kept every article about you. After the gallery showing, I mean. Found them all online. Better late than never? No, he said firmly. Not better. I should have been there from the beginning. Should have seen what was right in front of me. I sipped my coffee. He'd remembered how I liked it. We can't change that now. No, but I can do better going forward. He pulled out his phone, showed me an email. The board wants to create a permanent position, Chief Creative Officer. I don't want a corporate job, Dad. I know, that's what I told them, but they'd like to keep you on retainer, let you work independently, your way. I thought about it. I'll consider it, on one condition. Name it. The summer internship program you're starting? I want to run it. Find those kids who think differently, who see the world through creative eyes. Give them the chance I had to fight for. His face softened. Already approved, though I did have one question about your proposal. What's that? The art supplies budget seemed a bit high. I tensed, ready to defend it, but then saw the twinkle in his eye. He was teasing me. Well, I said, playing along, quality doodles don't come cheap. He laughed, a real laugh, one I hadn't heard in years. No, they certainly don't, and thank God for that. I turned back to my screen, adding the final touches to the design that would carry his company into the future. Not for revenge, not for validation, but because it was what I was meant to do all along. Hey, Dad? Thanks for the coffee. He smiled, understanding everything I wasn't saying. Anytime, sweetheart. Anytime.